unending. And you can't get out of it. And when our body is stressed, it can't heal. We have to be in a relaxed state to heal, which is one of the reasons sleep is so important. Also because we detox our brains only during sleep. But that's why my body couldn't heal, is because even though I was eating right and I was sleeping right and I was taking supplements to help my body, I was so stressed all the time that the inflammation was going. So the stress reaction causes inflammation, and stress is like gasoline on the fire of inflammation, and that just keeps your body from being able to heal, and in fact makes it sicker. But you have to learn to recognize, and stop and have a technique, and there are many different techniques. I teach quite a few different ones on recognizing what's getting in your way and really diving deep and examining what's the subconscious belief, where did it come from, and how do I teach my brain that what I want to do is really safe. There's all sorts of different things involved. Some of it is baby steps. Some of it is just giving your brain evidence that what you're doing is safe. For example, many of us, probably everybody, who wants to do something they've never done before has doubts. Am I good enough? Can I do it? Right?
Right.
And it doesn't feel safe to try something and fail. And so we sabotage ourselves and we procrastinate because we're afraid of that. We don't want to fail. We don't want to, we don't want to look like a fool and again risk being not accepted, et cetera. It really all goes down to being lovable and good enough.
Right.
But,
exactly.
You can start to give yourself evidence. I get caught up in that, still to this day, even though I teach this work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you ever get past it, because if you get to the point where your subconscious mind isn't trying to protect you, you're going to die because you're going to do something. So,
well, and we teach what we want to learn. So we
always absolutely. So I have to do this thing where I give myself evidence that I've done lots of things in my life. I've succeeded at a high level at lots of things in my life that I didn't know how to do before I put my mind to doing them. Mm-hmm. Right? And to go through that list and say, okay, so before I did that, I'd never done it, and I probably, had the same I wasn't good enough, and I spent the time, and I learned, and I put in the effort, and I achieved it. Okay, and I did it again and again and again and again. So this time's no different. I'm not an expert in what I want to do yet, but I have been in that position many times before and come out successful.
So, Dr. Marny, give me an example of, say, someone who comes in and they're obviously overweight, they're inflamed, potentially either on the edge or diabetic, for sure. And how would you approach that? I mean, they're thinking, I like my French pastries, and I like like my wine at night. How can you effectively deal with that?
Well, first of all, you're talking about my husband. Second of all,
okay, there we go. I didn't mean to do that, but okay.
No, it's fine. It's actually, I'm glad you did, because it gives me an opportunity to talk briefly about why this is so critically important, and then I'll come back to what we do. Right. So my husband was diabetic, and he really struggled because he loved his pastries. And in fact, he was so stressed by his job and other things that he had come to the point where he truly believed that food was his only joy in life.
Wow.
And so his brain was sabotaging him in dealing with his diabetes because his brain was correct that if he gave up all joy in life, that was a problem. Right? So this was a real issue. And, as he went longer and longer with his diabetes not managed, and I'm talking about years, with blood sugars in the 200s and a good time when it was in the 300s and 400s.
Oh, wow.
The inflammation and the fire burning in his body that was, getting all of his systems out of balance was enormous. On top of which he had a high-pressure job that was creating fight or flight stress reactions all the time that were adding to that. And your brain gets to a point, and this point is different for everyone, but we all have breaking points. We have physical breaking points and we have mental breaking points. And we tend to think that mental breaking points only happen in people with mental illness, but physical health challenges and stress are far and away the biggest cause of people hitting their mental breaking point. And so 3 years ago, 2 days ago, my husband took his life because he got to his breaking point. And he was getting very intensive support, but it wasn't enough. So I want to be really clear that this isn't some cute, I could change my mind thing. If you have health issues and you don't address them effectively by taking both steps to improve your physical health and get your mind on board, you run a risk of suddenly coming up against your mental breaking point or your physical breaking point. And we never know when it's going to be, because we never know when life is going to throw a big stressor at us that, or even sometimes a small stressor that's the straw that breaks the camel's back. So
that is,
it's
I think that's
important.
That's a really good position and summary in terms of what needs to be done. And I think of you, Kimberly, because she's a bioenergetic chef and works with food. I love that you said that food was his only choice for joy in life. It got to that point. Mm-hmm. And if you can, and that's what I see you doing, Kimberly, is you really change people in terms of how they look and see and feel about healthy food. And that can bring joy as well. So I know this has been a really great, and I know you can start rewiring the subconscious is that effective.
Can I comment on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because I talked about that in the second day of this program that I do, because the brain is wired to look to food or other substances to feel better. And that's the case of neurotransmitters. So when I talk about, sugar, and I suffered from eating disorders or disordered eating, which they call it mostly now, from 18 to about 33. And it's that shot of dopamine, serotonin, whatever we're looking for. And then, but then of course there's control built in, there's chaos in your world, and you're using a substance. So I have complete compassion, but I have developed all these recipes that that will mimic that feeling without the drastic effects that we have of sugar today.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and food has always been, this is cultural. We use food as a celebration. Yeah. And it used to be healthy. It used to be healthy food as a celebration, and so we didn't have this issue.
So now
food in general has changed so much. So I know we're almost towards the end. I don't want to leave this hanging on what do you do when someone comes at that point. And
we're down to our last 2 minutes. So there we go. Go for it.
You have to take baby steps, and you basically have to start reframing everything. You have to become an expert in reframing. Mm-hmm. I developed a technique I call stop, drop, and roll because we talked about inflammation and fire. And so when you have a stress response, you fuel the fire. So stop, drop, and roll mimics that whole fireman's thing like we're taught as kids, to stop, drop, and roll if you're in a fire.
So you have an ebook on that, right?
Right. And so that's where you start. And you start with your little stressors, learning how to recognize them in your body, learning how to figure out what they are.
I don't want to cut you off, but we are at our end, unfortunately. So how do they get to your technique? And just give us your contact information. Go ahead.
Yep. So I put that one at outsidethepillbox.com. outsidethepillbox.com/healthyplanetgift with that's all one word together. So outsidethepillbox.com/healthyplanetgift. No spaces, no dashes.
Fantastic. Oh, that's great.
So so people can learn, and it's step by step. It's a process to get in charge of your mind, because we weren't taught it, and that's my mission, is to really get it so that kids are learning this early, how to be in control of their mind to really get what they want and stay healthy.
Awesome. Thank you so very much. I'm glad we had this part too, because this is the key to health and well-being. So it's been great having you on. Thank you, Marny, for coming.
Thank you. It was a ton of fun.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into our show on societybitesradio.com. Don't worry if you've missed a show. You can find them all on our website at SarasotaHolisticChamberofCommerce.com.